I was made for this. 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 I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for 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 this. I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I want to thank y'all for tuning in to the very first episode of Chopping It Up, man. We hit the great world-renowned Fannie Mae's Hot Chicken and More, downtown Nashville. Make sure y'all stop and get some of that good chicken, some of that good seafood, man. I'm here with a special guest today, my good brother Lonnell Mathews Jr. He's in the building.
Yes, sir.
And he told me before we sit down, nothing's off limits, right?
Hey, nothing off limits.
Nothing off limits, man. So we going in deep. We going in deep, baby.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you, man, for coming to the first one. You always the first, too. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
We did it at the barbershop first. We did it at your other campaign trail first. And it's the first time we doing this.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Get to come speak to the people.
Yeah, man. So tell the people a little bit about what brings you here today. Let's go ahead and get that out the way first. What brings you here today, my man?
I'm running for juvenile court clerk.
Mm-hmm.
The latest race that I've been in, I've been serving the public in Nashville for 10 years now. Former Metro Council member, served 2 terms on the Metro Council, directed the Metro Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement.
Yeah.
And now I want to get back to what I'm passionate about, is really impacting young people. And so I spent 15 years in youth development at the YMCA. A lot of people don't know that part of my background, but I want to be able to take my public service and what I've done in government and what I've done in youth development and be able to put them together in this position of juvenile court clerk to create better outcomes for our young people. So I'll be on the ballot May 1st. Early voting starts April 11th, ends April 26th.
Yeah. Don't
wait till the last minute. Go vote early.
Yes.
Get out and vote. Even if you don't vote for me, go vote. Like, period. We ain't had that conversation before,
we
too.
always have that. And I always say, my feelings on voting. People who watch me, they pretty much know my stance on voting. But if you're gonna vote local, man. I always say it start with local. I say we're not gonna be able to change the laws or change anything until we start getting our people in these places.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can complain about the powers that be, but until we start getting our people in these places, then we just complaining. And I think you my boy. We go way back. So I honestly think that you are one of our people. You're for the people, and you can make some stuff happen. So tell us, what does the juvenile county clerk? What does that job? What's that job's description?
So the juvenile court clerk is the keeper of records for the juvenile court. It's an administrative position. So all the petitions that are filed in juvenile court are filed in the clerk's office. They create the dockets for the judges and magistrates. Once the judge or magistrate hands down an order from a case, the clerk is the one that makes sure that order is carried out properly. And so we deal a lot with custody cases. We deal a lot with child support.
Yeah.
We'll work a lot with managing any trust fund that's set up for a juvenile, usually through foster care in the state,
Gotcha.
but set up through juvenile court. We'll manage that. I also believe that with that position, though, you're the keeper of information. You're not just a keeper of records, you're the keeper of information.
Okay.
What gets measured gets done, and there's a social responsibility for the juvenile court clerk to do data analysis, to look at what trends are bringing people to juvenile court, and making sure that we're working with community partners, nonprofits, faith-based programs to make sure that they're serving people outside of the walls of juvenile court to keep them from coming in contact with juvenile court.
There you go.
That would be one of the things that I want to accomplish. We'll do quarterly data analysis. We'll keep everyone up to date with the social determinants that we're seeing come in and out of the court. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure people walk away from juvenile court, even if you come in contact with it, with some dignity. I want to make sure that you're going to be treated with respect when you come in there. I don't want people to feel like they're being belittled just because they have to come into court.
Okay.
And I want them to feel like there can be a positive outcome to come out of whatever situation brought them to the court.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to do a lot to sow seeds back into the young people and to the families that come into that court. And they need to be able to walk out with their head up.
Yeah, I mean, that's dope, because it is demoralizing when you got to walk in.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's a negative connotation to going to court, period.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, brother.
I think it takes somebody that understands our community to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. So, who's holding that position right now, currently?
So currently, David Smith is the current juvenile court clerk. He's retiring. He's not running for re-election. So I'm not running against the incumbent. There are 4 other people running, but they not here. So only person you're gonna hear about is me. The only person you probably gonna see is me, because
Gotcha.
I'm out in the community. I want people to know who their juvenile court clerk is when they elect me in May, and I want people to be able to access the juvenile court clerk's office and be accessible to the people. And so that's what I plan to
Transparency.
be.
How important is transparency in this job that you're running for?
Oh, it's key. It's key. I mean, you have to make sure that the court has what it needs as far as paperwork, as far as processes, as far as creating an environment. But you also have to be able to make sure that the processes are fair and just. If we're talking about the justice system.
Yeah.
And processes have to be fair and just, but you also have to be sensitive to the fact that we're dealing with young people. And so it's not about, we have to respect certain privacy laws when it comes to exposing young people or their identities and things like that. But that process needs to be fair and just, and that's where the transparency needs to be on the process and how the process of justice is being administered in that court.
Okay. So I do want to ask you this. So how do you, because I run into this a lot, I do stuff in the community. I work with nonprofits. I work with faith-based programs, etc. How do you kind of weed out, I hate to say it like this, but how do you weed out the nonsense and pick the good ones? Because when you're dealing with these groups, a lot of them have their own agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's all about evidence-based strategies. Like I said, what gets measured gets done. So if you have someone that's out there and they're working, and you say, hey, tell me what successes you've had in reducing youth violence, and they don't have an answer. Man, I'm out here. Man, I got 10 kids and we take them on field trips. Okay, how is that helping to reduce youth violence? Like, you got to show me, like, where were those kids when they started with your program?
Okay.
And what progress have they made as they've been in your program? And that's where evidence-based comes in. That's why I'm saying when a young person comes to our court, or a family comes to our court, because it's not just about the young person, it's about the parents too. So we have nonprofits that are out there that service parents, that talk about we're providing this resources for parents or supports for parents. If a parent or a young person comes in contact with our court and they say, well, we've been a part of this program, we're going to start to see the trends and see the programs that people are exposed to, but we're also going to see the results of those programs too. And and I'm not saying this to down any program, because programs have to constantly evolve, because times evolve.
Absolutely.
Environments evolve. Culture evolves. And so programs have to stay relevant with those changes that are made. But programs don't understand the changes, or they're not keeping up with the changes as they occur, and they're trying to provide the same programming that they provided 20 years ago.
It just ain't gonna work.
It just may not work. So I believe, as the keeper of information, it's incumbent upon the clerk to have a relationship with those community partners and say, hey, we're going to do this together, because my job really is to make sure I don't ever see none of these kids.
Absolutely.
That's what I really want my job to be. If I do see them, I'm going to serve them well, but my job is to make sure I don't ever see them. And that's where you come in. And I can't do that within the walls of juvenile court. We have to do that outside
the walls. And that's good. That's a good thing that the juvenile court is reaching out. So let's go back to the beginning, my man. Let's go to the beginning. Tell me a little bit tell the people a little bit about you. Where you grew up, where you went to school at, and all that good stuff, bro.
For sure. So I'm native Nashvilleian, out north. I grew up Metro Center area, right behind Louis Center, Cecilia Avenue, in between 11 and 12. Okay. We lived there till I was 13. Then my parents moved to Bordeaux. Went to Martin Luther King Magnet School.
Your parents got some money. Your parents did end up getting some money.
My parents worked hard, two or three jobs, still doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
But my parents always wanted to provide me and my brother the best life that they could. They just wanted us to have opportunities. They wanted to expose us to some more than the limited exposure that we had at a younger age. And they were able to do that. And I think that's what's needed for a lot of young people. frankly, is people need to be able to get outside of their block and see that there's more to the world than just what they may grow up in or grow up around.
Yes, sir.
And if we could expose people to more, then that's how we inspire hope in people. People ain't gonna have no hope if they can't aspire to be anything better than what they've already seen.
Yeah.
That's why I think President Obama was so inspirational in achieving the position or obtaining the position of president. It's because I never thought
a black person would be
could be president. Until he held that seat.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
But now I do, and so now I'm looking for the next black president. As I'm out here talking to these young people, like, man, okay, which one of y'all next up?
Yeah,
because we gotta start preparing you now. But went to Tennessee State University. Graduated accounting, business law at TSU 2002. Worked for the Y for 15 years. Like I said, I started part-time in college and then continued full-time after college. Most recently at the Y, I was District Executive Director of Youth Outreach. So I supervised the YCAP program, Black Achievers, Latino Achievers, Reach and Rise Mentor, and all of those youth outreach programs at the Y. I was first elected to the Metro Council when I was 27 years old. So 2007, youngest African American ever elected. That's a little Black History fact.
There you go. They can't take that away from you though.
Nah, I'm looking for you could be 25 and get elected. That's how old you have to be to get elected. I'm looking for the young Black woman or guy that's going to be 25 and they're going to be the youngest person, African American, to be elected to the Metro Council. Or to any position. But I'm looking for them because I don't want to be the youngest. That's not. I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I was able to kind of break that stigma that you have to be older in our community to be in a position of leadership. But I also think that we have a long way to go to start preparing leadership at a younger age in our community and making sure that we have that pipeline of leadership because there's no way that I should be planning to be in a position longer than I have impact in that position. And so I've always been a person, no matter whether it was my position at the Y or my position in the community, to say, hey, everybody that I'm surrounding myself with, I'm going to pour and sow seeds into you and help you develop because I'm always trying to replace myself. When I left the Y to become the director of neighborhoods for Metro, I had already hired the person that I knew that was going to replace me, and I spent 2 years training him just so he could be prepared to take my position at the Y. He's doing a great job now. So shout out to Rico X, my guy.
Man, Rico X, man.
That's my guy. But we have to do more to prepare our young people, have a pipeline of leadership in our community from all aspects of our community. It's not just pastors or elected officials. We have people that's in the trenches that should be recognized for the work that they're doing, and we have to make sure that they have the platform and the voice to actually lead the community from a standpoint of influence.
Yes.
And so and that's the only way our community is gonna improve. And so now I'm a father, I'm a husband. Me and my wife, we've been together going on 6 years this year. We'll be celebrating in June. My kids are 3 and 1. I love fatherhood. I love being a husband. I love family life. Much different from what I used to get into. But I can't say I'm disappointed with it at all. I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Yes.
And now I see, as a family man, that I see really what our community should be aspiring to, because I believe that what we've really lost in some of our stature as the African American community has been lost in the makeup of our families.
Yes,
and so
sir.
making sure that we have stronger relationships, making sure that the relationships of how we develop our children and how we build villages around our children are strong. And then that's when we start to talk about, and we could get into this. I know you probably have some more questions after I say something like this, but that's how we start to then build the foundation for us to be able to build equity and build wealth and build other things in our community. But that foundation is so critical. And if we don't get that foundational part right, we're never gonna go anywhere. We're gonna be in this cycle of trying to spin our wheels of how do we improve or how do we get better.
Man, you're right. You're right. I mean, I know you can't say it, but I'm gonna say, man, a traditional black family is a man, a woman, and kids. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So let's go back. Before politics, right? You was a artist manager, right?
I managed Starlito for a while.
Yeah.
You know, Starlito, me and him hooked up. Man, I ain't gonna get in that story. That's kind of long.
I got you.
I'll tell a little bit of it.
Go ahead.
My brother was rapping. Farad,
Yeah.
you know, was rapping. Y'all used to have a little rap
Absolutely,
group back
yeah.
in the day.
You was our manager.
You used to spit a little bit. You know, you had flows. But you know, my brother was rapping. I was running this little label, and man, it was
Play
funny.
Away.
Yeah, it was Play Away Entertainment.
Play Away Entertainment.
It was funny how it all went down though, because I remember I was playing pool at the pool table at my parents' house one day. And my brother come in with a tape. And everybody had tapes back then, you know, on cassettes, you know, real cassettes, no iPods, no CDs, no nothing. We was taping it back then. He came in with a tape. He was like, man, look, I got this person, man. I want you to hear, man. He's good. He's dope. You know how he used to talk.
Yeah.
He's dope, man. You should listen to him. I'm like, man, I can't take you seriously. Like, I invested so much time in my brother trying to rap, and he was trying to do all kind of, man, had his hustle on the side.
Yeah.
You know, he trying to play basketball. I mean, he trying to do everything.
He's all over
I'm like,
the place.
man, look, I'm not gonna have another young guy wasting my time like you. Like, it's okay. I'm gonna invest in you, family. I'm gonna invest in you. And my brother was talented.
He was good.
He just wasn't serious.
I always say he could rap.
Yeah, he wasn't serious about it. Like, he wasn't trying to make it a career or nothing.
Yeah.
But he had fun with it. But man, so I ain't listened to the tape for like a month. He kept on trying to get me to pop it in. I'm like, man, go somewhere, man. And finally, he just popped in and just had it playing. I walked in. I'm like, man, who is that? Like,
Yeah.
You know, I was like, man, he got some flows. He had like this Southern Fabulous kind of deal. Because he used all the sports metaphors and everything back then. Went by All Star.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's how we connected, man. And I mean, the rest is kind of history. We actually got serious about it. He ended up getting signed to Cash Money Records. He got shelved for a while, and then he went out independent and just built this natural fan base from the ground up. And you know, eventually I got into politics kind of in between that. And once I got into politics and gangster rap didn't really go together. So, you know, I kind of went my path and he went his path. But I think we both done pretty well.
Absolutely.
And we still good friends.
Absolutely.
To this day,
I mean,
man. That's fine.
I can speak on that from the outside looking in. Both of you brothers are doing your thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I remember when it first started, when you was first managing him and all that, and now I can definitely say both of y'all have done your thing.
Yeah.
I can ask you.
Rising tide rises all boats, man. That's how it is.
Absolutely. So how does that? What experience did you take from being a artist manager and bring with you into the world of politics?
So that's how I ran my first campaign. Actually, I mean, I was 27. I didn't know nothing about politics. I had no ambition. Like, somebody talked me into running. Okay. And once they talked me into putting my name on the ballot, I had to run a viable campaign. And so I went out. My first campaign manager was Eric Hope from Love Noise. Okay. And Eric was used to throwing concerts and doing stuff in the music industry. I told him, I said, look, run my campaign like I'm the artist. Yeah. And that's how I said, look, when you have an artist, you put together your content, you promote that content, you market it, you advertise it. I said, anytime that I'm making an appearance or going to different meetings, we're going to run that like we running a tour of concerts, and we just going to make sure that we're in the right places, that we have the right visibility, we're marketing right. And that's how I ran my first campaign, was as if I was the artist myself. Nice. In the music industry. I kind of was able to take those skills and transfer them into campaigning. And ran a successful campaign. You know, I didn't think we would win when I first got into it, but once I saw the momentum building, and I saw people starting to respond and react to what we were doing. I was like, man, we got something here, y'all. Like, we can win this thing, and we did.
Man, that's dope, man. That's dope, man. So you got billboards everywhere, man. I'm seeing Lonnell Mathews Jr. everywhere, up and down Jefferson, up and down Clarksville Highway. Man, me being your homeboy, bro. Is that an old picture or a new picture?
So that picture about 2 years old.
Come on, man. We gotta step it up, baby.
Yeah.
We done ran 2-3 campaigns on that picture, baby.
It's about 2 years old. That's a good picture, though.
Man, but it's old, man.
I'm not that photogenic, man. Look, when you get a good picture, and it got a little gray hair, I got a little more now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that was a good picture, man, and you know, I took some new pictures, and I was like, man, that picture still looks better. We gonna use that picture.
I rode down Jefferson. I looked. I said, he got the same picture, man. But hey, you doing your thing, bro. I'm hella proud of you. So now, so you just left the working for the mayor's office. What were you doing? What was your position in her office?
So I directed the Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement. You know, as a former Metro Council member, but also as somebody that's from Nashville. You know, I know this city. I was able to work with neighborhood groups and community groups on making sure that whenever they had an issue that needed Metro resources, that I was able to connect them with the right resources within Metro government. So if it was a neighborhood group dealing with crime issues, or if you were dealing with stormwater issues, or dealing with issues with how houses were not being developed right in your community, I would connect you with the right people in the right departments within Metro government to address those issues. And so it was all about constituent response, all about public safety, and we did a lot of engagement of different demographics, new Americans, whether you're immigrant refugees or other demographics. We did different engagement around the other initiatives and programs that were being pushed out of the mayor's office. So the housing programs, and we had programs that were for workforce and labor. And so we would help create engagement plans for those programs, working with some of our co-workers within the office, in my office too.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. Would you say your time there?
I did a lot of public safety advisory too.
Would you say it was a success? Your time at there? You learned a lot?
I would say my time there was definitely successful. But I think there's a difference between success and significance. And that's one reason why I chose to take a leave of absence and really go after this position of juvenile court clerk. And this was something one of my mentors told me. They were like, look, you could be successful, but usually success is just benefiting you. Significance is when you could be successful and it can impact others. And you think about how you can have the greatest impact. And for me, my passion has always been young people, but I love public service. You know, I grew to love it. It was something, like I said, I never grew up wanting to do, but once I got into it and saw how communities and people could be influenced by it, it's something that I grew to love to do, because I love providing resources and supports to other people. Like that's something that I love also. And this position of juvenile court clerk is just the perfect position to be able to take both of my skill sets of having passion for young people and youth development and passion for public service and put them together in a position. So that's where I see myself being the most significant to my community and the city at this time.
Okay. So your time working at the mayor's office, were you ever aware of her extramarital affairs that she had going on?
No, I wasn't aware. I was just as surprised as everybody else in the city. I found out that same week that everyone else found out, probably a day earlier before it was actually announced in the news, but the news was already flying around the political circles and the courthouse circles, and so rumors were flying. And, you know, I was disappointed in hearing the news because, you know, I heard the mayor to a high standard.
Absolutely.
You know, and
as well as the city did also.
And the city did also, and everyone should. I mean, that's the top leader in our city. But also try not to be judgmental, because I know I hold myself to a high standard. You know, another mentor told me, I'm gonna tell you a lot about my mentor.
Go ahead.
But another mentor told me standards are like fences. You know, the higher they are, the more valuable the things that they surround. And it's like having a fence at a house or a property. You go out to Green Hills, you see them high fences.
Yeah.
You know, property,
there's money back there.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But standards the same way. If you have higher standards, then the more valuable, the more esteemed something becomes. And I hold myself to higher standards, but I know that I've done and made mistakes in my life.
Absolutely.
You know, I made plenty of mistakes in my life. Coming from out north, I think you can't help but make some mistakes.
Absolutely.
When you grow up in that environment, and so I try not to be judgmental on her personal life. I don't think that her personal life affected her job performance. I mean, we did a lot of work in that office. I know that all of my coworkers, I mean, we worked our butts off, sun up to sun down. And they're still there, and they're still working very hard on the issues that affect Nashvillians every day. But I do think, you know, as she goes through investigations, and they'll look into whether there were any improprieties or ethics concerns, and you know, if anything comes out of investigations, she'll be held accountable to whatever those investigations end up turning up.
I like that. Should she resign?
I don't think she should. I mean, I think she was elected to serve in the office. I think if the investigations show that there should be action taken or another step for her, let the investigation show the results. But based on her personal life and making a bad choice or a poor choice, no. Because we've all made poor choices. You know, if everybody got fired for making a poor choice at their job, who'd be working right now?
We wouldn't have jobs. I got you, man. So I want to ask you this though, Lo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Why you eating your Fannie Mae's catfish, man? You know what I'm saying? I want to ask you this.
Off the chain too.
Appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate that. So you said you was from North Nashville, and then you moved to the Bordeaux area. I mean, what do you see? What do you think about the growth of Bordeaux? I see they're building some. They're building some. I think it's like it looked like they're finna put like some plaza in there with some. I don't know. Is it shopping? Looks like some retail. Looks like
that's you talking about Mr. Kirk's property. So Mr. Kirk runs a program called Youth About Business. They own that shopping center on the corner of West Hamilton and across the highway. They bought a couple of lots across the street from the Kroger.
Yeah, yes,
and they're looking at doing like a mixed use development, so it's going to be residential, have a couple storefronts at the bottom for restaurants or different type of retail. We'll be able to go in there and try to make Clarksville Highway a true transit corridor. So everybody's talking about, with the whole transit referendum, transit-oriented development to protect the integrity of existing communities to where they're not highly gentrifying or bringing in the two tall skinnies for every one house.
Yeah.
You put all the density and you allow developers to develop on those main streets. And you give them density incentives to say, hey, this is where we want you to target your development. So your Dickerson Pikes, your Charlotte Pike, Clarksville Pike, Murfreesboro Pike, Nolensville Pike, all of these are your high transit corridors where they want to drive density, so that when they do put either high rapid buses, or if we do pass light rail, you actually have the people there that's going to utilize the transit on those corridors. But you also protect the neighborhoods from this infusion of this high development and gentrification.
Gotcha.
Is what you do. So I think Mr. Kirk's project in Bordeaux, right there on Clarksville Pike, could be that thing that really creates a model for where we could get that right in the city, because you hadn't had a lot of gentrification. People aren't tearing houses down in Bordeaux yet and building.
Absolutely.
I mean, on my parents' like, man, you can tear their house down, probably build like 10 houses, because they got an acre and 1.75 acres. So that's a lot of property when it comes to how they building houses now in the inner city. And so I think you protect the character of those communities. You got Bordeaux Hills off County Hospital Road. You have Haynes Park, Haynes Garden, Haynes Manor. If we put all that density on Clarksville Highway and Dickerson Pike, and even some on Trinity Lane, it's starting on Trinity Lane, then you keep it from spilling over into the neighborhoods where we've already established residential development. And so I think you're going to start to see that in Bordeaux. But for me, and I think for our community, it's really about property ownership.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people need to understand in our community, if you own the property, just because someone offers you money so they could develop the property, that's not the route you have to go. If you want to see the property develop, you could maintain ownership of the property, hire somebody to develop it, and you just lease it to them. That way you still maintain ownership, and we maintain ownership in our community. I think it would be powerful, and I'm actually having this conversation with a couple of people about doing a census or analysis of all the property that's owned by black people in this city, and just mapping it out. And if we did that and we really saw the pockets or neighborhoods and communities where we had high property ownership, that's where we start to build our wealth. And we need to strategize around that. But I don't know one person that could tell you like everywhere that black people own property in this city. Because no one's ever really thought about
taking the
we
time.
need to actually really map this out and figure it out.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. So you're saying property ownership, that's one way to eliminate gentrification.
Property ownership is about wealth building.
Absolutely.
I mean, eliminate gentrification.
Because you have some people who can't afford, you know, some people get these $200,000 and like, man, it's grandma and granddad built this house, left it to my mom, maybe they passed, now I got it, and I need the $225,000.
And that may be true. You may need it, but do you have to give up all of your equity, of all your ownership, or all the wealth that you have in that property to get that money? And that's the difference between how black people invest and how white people have invested, is they understand ownership and investment. Black people, we understand ownership, but we don't always invest when we own something. And that's where you get to the conversation about gentrification. I went to a house off Snell Boulevard to deliver a campaign sign earlier today.
Okay.
You know, nice house, had been redone. They painted the outside. I could tell they had done some work on the house. And I know the person that bought the house is black. Now, she's young, she's black. Is she gentrifying that neighborhood? Probably so. I mean, she probably didn't grow up in that neighborhood, but that house is improved. It's still a black person. Just because she's black don't mean it's not gentrification. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we could, that's why I say gentrification is not a bad thing. Displacement is a bad thing.
Gotcha.
Now, if you start to invest and revitalize a community and people all of a sudden start to be displaced, that's where it's negative.
Yes.
But if we invest in our community and we find a way to maintain ownership and presence in that community, then that's where power comes. That's how you start to build wealth, and that's how we start to see our communities improve. Everyone wants to see their community improve. No one wants to live in a slum neighborhood.
No, you're right.
You know? And so we have to be able to be willing to invest. We have to educate ourselves on how to maintain ownership and invest in that ownership and build up our communities and build up our wealth at the same time as we're doing that.
Man, that's dope. That's dope, bro. Hey, I see big things for the city, man. I just want to make sure that we all are involved. You know what I mean? Because I say this a lot on my show, that I just feel like when people say the new Nashville, when I hear that, I don't hear the African American community being incorporated into that. I just hear New Nashville, 100 people moving here every day, and it's like you saying, displacement. When I hear that, I hear people moving in, black people moving out.
We live in a very classist society. So we have the haves and the have-nots. You have different social classes, you have different economic classes. And when you talk about equity and shared prosperity, it's all about how do we create more opportunities for economic mobility. And so I saw a presentation, and this blew my mind. So a professor from Stanford was giving this presentation, and he was talking about economic mobility. And he said, the American dream is when someone's kids could grow up and do better off than they did. That's the American dream. Is you have kids, your kids have the opportunity to grow up and pull themselves out of whatever situation they were born into. And that's the great thing about America, right? And usually it's when the people in the bottom 5 percentile economically make it into the top 5. That's the true American dream stories that we tell. That's I started from the bottom, now I'm here. You know, Drake ain't even from America.
Freeway Ricky Ross.
And so Drake's not from America. He wrote that song. The funny thing about this presentation is that the professor said that America is probably like 7 out of the top 10 countries in economic mobility. And so he showed this chart that had like more people in Canada actually moved from the bottom 5 to the top 5, more people in France, and I mean, but America was kind of down toward the bottom.
Yeah.
And he made the point that the American dream's not even American anymore. They're doing it better in other countries than we do it here.
I believe
and, you know, that's a shame, but that's where we have to. Do we create those opportunities so someone could be born in Dodge City,
Okay.
you know, and they could end up living in Belmead? How many of those stories are actually being told here?
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to move to Belmead, they have the ability to.
I even say move to the deep in Bordeaux or
my
somewhere
man
like
Francis
that.
Guest, before he passed, Francis stayed in Bordeaux, you know.
Yeah.
But Francis was the only black man I knew with a private jet, you know. And so it wasn't no shame about it. Like, he loved his community. He wasn't gonna go nowhere. But he was able to kind of pull himself out of the situation he was born into. And if we not creating those opportunities, then we gonna really miss the boat, and it's gonna get real ugly around here. You know, real quick.
Do you think more people in the black community, when they do reach a certain stature and get a little bit of wealth, do you think they should try to stay grounded? Like, if they grew up in North Nashville, they should stay in North Nashville? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or do you think, or is that hurting the community when they move out? So when they get money, you grew up in Dodge City, but you get rich and actually go to Belmead and say, forget them people over there. They need to pull their...
So the forget word is important. I ain't gonna check a man's pockets or where he want to raise his family or where he think is best for his family. Right? Everybody's situation is different. You know, I chose to live in Bordeaux because that's just what I was gonna do. My wife knew when she married me, she was marrying into Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Like, that was established. But some people might just feel like, okay, my kids need to grow up in a different situation.
Yeah.
And that's
Nothing
a
wrong
personal
with
thing.
that.
But you can't forget where you come from too, and you can't forget to give back and invest. I think one of the issues, and the reason I keep going back to wealth when it comes to our community, is a lot of black wealth in our community, even when it's obtained, is still tied or influenced by the white community.
Yes.
And so as long as it's a result of, or it's influenced by the white community, then I don't care who you are. If you black, you ain't never independently wealthy. And that's the issue. Like, you might be in Belmead, but shoot, one mistake, you can end up right back where you were. You know, and so that's I think that's what really keeps black people that achieve a certain amount of wealth from being able to really be the driving force behind the economic change in our community, is because it's still dependent on other communities where their wealth comes from, and we have to find a way to become independently wealthy within our own communities. And so it goes back to you know, making sure the dollars are circulating in our communities, making sure that we're able to do commerce with each other for different areas or different types of commercial business or retail, and we own the businesses, and it's circulating, you know, tenfold. And once we do that, and we know we could depend on us, that's when you're in with
I love it. So, man, we're going to get out of here, bro, but I want you to tell the people, man, how they can vote, when they can vote, where to vote, and how we really going to do this thing, bro.
Again, Lonnell Mathews running for Juvenile Court Clerk. Election day is May the 1st. Early voting starts April 11th through April 26th. There'll be, I think, 8 or 9 early voting locations, but the Bordeaux Library is always my biggest box doing early voting. So y'all go out to Bordeaux Library, but also Green Hills Library will be open. You'll have a couple of locations in the southeast area. Just make sure you go out. Go out and vote. Go to the Election Commission website. You can call the Election Commission to get information. Their number is 615-862-8800. And if you need to call me to get information, 615-573-7701. I'm here for you.
Got you, bro. How can they find you online, man?
You can find me at www.lonnellmatthews.com. It's my website. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, Inspire with LM, Instagram, Inspire with Lonnell. And let's make this happen, man.
Man, I appreciate that, brother.
Let's big up our city.
Man, I appreciate that. Y'all make sure y'all get out and vote, man. Get out for this brother. Any questions, y'all make sure y'all hit him up online. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in, y'all. We out. Salute.
I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this, I was made for this. I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for this, I was made for this.